Hello and a very warm welcome to the Homestead Oval just outside Miami, live here on Eurosport. This is Ben Edwards, joined by Jeremy Shaw, ready to bring you the Grand Prix of Miami presented by Toyota. It's round one of the 1997 PPG Kart World Series, and lining up on pole position, as we've already seen, is the Italian Alex Zanardi, who's really impressed so many people in the world of IndyCar racing over the last year or so. He came in at the beginning of last year to this very race, put in a strong performance there, and really it's grown and built up ever since then, to the point that he really now starts this championship as the favourite. His teammate is the reigning champion, Jimmy Vasser. He starts a little bit further down the grid, but he still will be very strong. And watch out for this man as well. This is Maurizio Guterman. We know his name from Formula One from years gone past. He is really fired up this year to do a good job, and the Pac West team with the Reynard, Mercedes and Firestone tyres are looking extremely competitive. So Maurizio Guterman, who's been fastest in several of the sessions this weekend, starting from the front row of the grid, is one to watch. But also watch for Gilles de Ferran, the man who had this dramatic accident yesterday, but who'll be starting from third place on the grid. Just take another look at this heavy impact against the wall. A dramatic moment indeed for the Brazilian, but thankfully with the strength of the Reynard chassis, Gilles de Ferran totally unhurt in that accident. He's out in the spare car, and the team are hoping for a good result. On-board cameras, we've got one with Michael Andretti in the Newman Haas Swift, another with his teammate Christian Fittipaldi. These are two brand new cars built in America, built down in California in fact, and both of these drivers will be looking for improvement as the season progresses, both of them in with a chance of winning races. Some of the young guns, Patrick Carpentier, the French-Canadian, looking to follow in the footsteps of Jacques Villeneuve. We've got Dario Franchitti from Scotland, who was fastest in the warm-up this morning. We've got Gualter Sales from Brazil, also doing a very competitive job. And young Richie Hearn, who started off his career in Europe in Formula Renault in France. We've also got Dennis Vitolo, who raced in the UK some years ago in Formula Ford 2000, and is now putting in a full season of the PPG Kart World Series. Looking down over the Homestead Metrodate complex, you can see there's actually a road circuit as well as the banked oval. And Jeremy, this complex really very new, of course, and a very important man there to oversee operations. The Grand Marshal is Emerson Fittipaldi.
And a huge favourite here in Miami. He lives just up the coast a little bit there in Key Biscayne. He's been based here in the South Florida area since he came back to motor racing in the early 80s after retiring from Formula One. And he is just so popular in this part of the world. He was very much part of the people that put this track together with Ralph Sanchez, who is the brains behind the facility here. It's a wonderful track, and Emerson Fittipaldi was brought back into motor racing by Ralph Sanchez when he drove the sports car race in Miami, and he's just proud to be here this weekend serving as a Grand Marshal. He'd much rather be in a race car, Ben, I know that though.
Yes, of course, he suffered a very nasty accident last year at the Michigan Oval, slightly different to this one. It's a very high-speed oval track. Suffered the accident. Thankfully, he's fully recovered from that. But as yet, not really a firm decision as to whether he'll be racing or not. He hasn't officially retired, but on the other hand, he hasn't actually got a drive either. So we'll just have to wait and see, and we'll follow Emerson's future career with interest. Of course, he's done just about everything, certainly in single-seaters in the past, as a former Formula One champion and a former IndyCar champion as well. There's the scene in the pits, though, as the cars are all lined up in grid formation, but not actually on the track there. You can see that's the pit lane area, and that's going to be a very busy place as we go through this race.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
So the engine's being started up now, and there you can see Gilles de Ferran, the man who suffered that nasty-looking accident, out in the spare car. The Walker team have got that other car ready, and now really looking strong for this race, starting from the second row of the grid, so we'll be keeping a very close eye on him. And of course, Gilles de Ferran, a lot of friends and supporters in the UK and in Europe after a very successful European racing championships behind him.
And another resident here of South Florida, he was living last year in Indianapolis when he drove for Jim Hall's team. Over the winter, he decided that Indianapolis was way too cold for him, so he moved down to Fort Lauderdale. Loves the warmth down here. He's really upped his training program over the winter, along with his countryman Mauricio Gugelmin. Those two are ready to go racing this year.
So we've seen the front row of the grid. Now we look at Gilles de Ferran and Greg Moore, who will be lined up on the second row of the grid. And de Ferran, who had a strong race here last year, came close to winning it, but couldn't quite because he was beaten by Jimmy Vasser, who'll be starting on the third row. But look there, Mark Blundel's right up there this time on the third row of the grid. Tremendous effort in qualifying yesterday, so let's hope it goes well for him today. Row 4 sees Parker Johnston, alongside him the first of the Ford runners. That's Raul Bazel from Brazil. Going from the fourth row back to the fifth row, Patrick Carpentier, the top rookie. Alongside him, one of the most experienced racers in the championship. Alonso Jr. starting from position 10, but definitely in with a chance of doing well and working his way up through the order. Then next up, it's Scott Pruitt, and alongside him, the former 3 times IndyCar champion, Bobby Rahal. Never count him out either. He's qualified in 12th position, but he'll have been working on the race setup. Behind them, Dario Franchitti finds himself alongside one of the other great names of the championship, Michael Andretti. For Dario, it's going to be a tough afternoon as he learns to deal with oval track racing. It's quite different to anything he's done before. Christian Fittipaldi lines up on the inside of row 8 alongside the Canadian Paul Tracy. Tracy not quite as fast as Alonso Jr. in the qualifying, but once again he's feeling quite happy with the car. Good performance from the Italian Max Papis in the Toyota-powered car to be on the inside of row 9. Brian Herter, meanwhile, who challenged for the win in Laguna Seca at the end of last year, he'll be disappointed to be way down on the outside of row 9. Behind him, Gualter Sales and Andre Ribeiro. It's an all-Brazilian 10th row to the grid. Sales coming into his first season. Ribeiro on the back of some wins last year, but not looking so strong just yet. Richie Hearn is another youngster with a lot of talent. Watch out for him. He's alongside the Mexican, Adrian Fernandez, on row number 11. Behind them, Michel Jourdain from Mexico. The Mexican attack on the IndyCar series continues. He's alongside PJ Jones in one of the All-American Racers cars with Dan Gurney, the team boss there. The other car is behind, it's Juan Fangio, and Hiro Matsushita is alongside him towards the back end of the grid. And we've just got one more row after that. Row number 14 sees Dennis Vitolo, and the man who failed to put in a lap time yesterday, unfortunately, Roberto Moreno, but he will be starting at the back of the field.